But now in D2C, think about that. Maybe 1 million addressable customers in Bombay, 500,000 in Delhi, 250,000 in Bangalore, 50,000 in Patna, 20,000 in Surat, 1 lakh um, in Ahmedabad. And so D2C allows you to build brands in niches, right? And aggregate demand for something which may not be dense in one pocket. Like I had an amazing conversation with Radhakrishnan Damani of DMart, the founder of DMart, about 4 years ago. And I went to show him my products in Dr. Vaidya's. And he looked at the balm and he said, Beta, ye balm kitne ka hai? I said, sir, 50 gram, 125 rupees. He said, Beta, Iodex move or Moson's ka price kya hai? So I knew the price of one of them, not all three. He said, yeah, those products are much cheaper than yours and it's a balm. So I said, okay. He said, you get my point, right? The playbook for scale remains the same playbook for scale. It's not like, okay, because I'm in this space, I'll only try to reach those small Facebook groups of eco-friendly customers. No. Then you have what's become even more relevant today is the post-purchase experience. So the order, the delivery, the time of delivery, how many days it takes to reach the customer, the unboxing experience, the moment of truth when the customer opens your product, their feedback or journey with your product post, and then eventually the way you re-engage with that customer to either re-buy that product or cross-sell and upsell. I think that's very, very important, right? So blood, sweat, tears, struggling through really tough times, not giving up, that eventually led us to that moment.
So Arjun, welcome on the Climb Up North show. As we call it, you are the OG of D2C, OG of e-commerce, and of course, an amazing investor. So today, as you were talking, I would really like to get your insights, your experience into helping sustainable D2C brands grow. So once again, welcome to the Climb Up North show, and I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you for having me as part of this conversation. And I think we're talking about a really important topic, right? And I want to sort of take you back to 2016, 2017 when Dr. Vaidya started, right? At that time, this conversation of sustainable brands, this sort of thesis of climate tech, of investing in our future, a better future for our children. These kind of things were not part of the conversation. Right? The part of the conversation at that time was just get consumers something new, something they want. And e-commerce, D2C was just being developed, right? So, by the way, if I take you back to that time, the term D2C didn't exist, right? So we used to say Dr. Vaidya is an online first brand or a digital first brand or e-commerce only brand. So I think conversation has changed now, right? We've had huge evolution over the last 5 to 6 years. I was just chatting with my dad at lunch actually right now, and he runs a luxury jewelry business. And we convinced him after we sold Dr. Vaidya's to get his brand active on Reels. And it's a very high-end jewelry business. The average
Yes.
order value is 10 lakhs plus. But my dad itself on his educational reels on jewelry in the last year has got 2.5 million organic reel views.
Wow.
Right? So the world is changing. Now with the world changing, with consumers becoming more aware, with accessibility to more information, people are also understanding the impact and effect of consumption. Right? The world is different now. Information is available to everyone, right? And with that information, we're seeing an entire generation of consumers who are now becoming interested in conscious consumption.
Yeah.
Uh, I think where we are now is that customers are sharper about their choices, right? You see Simon Sinek's Golden Triangle. It was first the what, then the how. Now we consume on the why, right? So you want to be part of a movement. You want to be part of something larger than just buying a product. Is that hit scale in India yet? Answer is no,
No.
because if you look at developed economies, consumers buy for sustainability, for climate first, for eco-friendly. Um, Today in India, I would still say, and from the conversations I've had with the founders who focus on sustainability, it's a bonus feature. It's not the reason why consumers buy products. And so, for all of the brands in this space in our economy, they have to keep this in mind, right? It's a great feature, it's a great bonus, it's something that's the back of consumers' minds, but it's not the decision making factor at all.
You
Right?
said
Not the
it right.
only decision. It's not
mm,
the only decision making. And so, given that, right, you still have to produce a high quality product.
mm,
It has to derive genuine value. The brand has to have other aspects than just sustainability.
mm,
And then sustainability can be a added feature
mm,
or bonus feature or one of the features or something to talk about. So
mm,
we're not in the phase or space where consumers will necessarily pay significantly more. They will pay a little bit more because they want to be conscious, but they'll not only buy a product because
mm,
it's sustainable, and they'll not only buy a product because it's conscious, and they will not pay 2x, 3x for a
mm.
product. Or if they do, it's a very small section of society. And so, as founders think about it, I think this is an important paradigm to keep in mind when you're building in a country like ours.
I think it was Ganesh from Flatheads who mentioned this. The product has to be good, and if we can get sustainability, that is another feature to it. But firstly, people buy it for the quality of the product.
Absolutely, I agree with you. When you see flatheads or
Yeah.
Needles in the shoe space, right? They're building high quality shoes,
Mm,
but then sustainability is another feature.
mm. No, definitely. So, Aditya, Arjun, tell me this thing. Like what role do you think that D2C plays in India's transition towards climate action? And why I'm asking you this is because, I was in conversation with Anshuman from Terrado once. So he mentioned this to me that, like 20 climate economy today is where internet was 20 years ago. And 20 years down the line, climate economy will be what internet is today, right now, or even bigger.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm an investor in a few
Hmm.
companies in this space as well, right? I've invested in Iki Foods, I've invested in Pran from a personal capacity.
Hmm.
I'm very passionate about this space, but let's leave aside my passion, right? Because I'm still the niche urban Mumbai consumer who doesn't represent India, right? I think the great part about D2C is I love to always give this example of a brand called M Caffeine, right? If you
Hmm.
told me 5 years ago or 6 years ago, a brand selling caffeinated cosmetics would reach 100 crore plus in terms of sales per year, I would have said that it's very difficult, right?
Hmm.
But now in D2C, think about that. Maybe 1 million addressable customers in Bombay,
Hmm.
500,000 in Delhi, 250,000 in Bangalore, 50,000 in Patna, 20,000 in Surat, 1 lakh in Ahmedabad. And so D2C allows you to build brands in niches,
Hmm.
right? And aggregate demand for something which may not be dense in one pocket like
Hmm.
Bombay or Delhi, but aggregate of the people who are interested in caffeinated cosmetics maybe 10 million across India.
Yep.
But to set up offline distribution in Patna or in Ahmedabad or in Surat may not be worth your buck
Hmm.
or give you enough bang to the buck. And so D2C actually allows brands in niches like the climate, sustainability, eco friendly niche to develop and get nationwide
Hmm.
consumption from limited or small infrastructure.
Hmm.
You don't need a sales boy in Patna, Muzaffarnagar, Imphal, Trichy, Surat, Ahmedabad, or Baroda to sell a product D2C in that place. But then maybe 50,000, 1 lakh addressable customers, of
Hmm.
which you may get 5,000, 2,000 customers in a year. Now, 2,000 customers or 2,000 purchases in a year and having an offline sales force of 10 people may not be economically viable.
Hmm.
But to establish yourself and build these brands in niches, and today I would say that until sustainability and climate hits completely mainstream,
Hmm.
which it's not yet, it's getting there.
Hmm.
And I remember being at a conference a few weeks ago where actually everyone was only served in glass bottles, right? And we were talking about this, and I picked up the glass bottle and I said, "Look, I'll tell you, 3 years ago, this would have been a plastic bottle, right?"
Hmm.
And so people are thinking about it now. But at the early stage of the thought process and of the consumption, I think D2C allows you to build
Hmm.
in these niches and get nationwide presence, which is exciting.
And again, that what you said is so much relevant because, like, the stats also suggest that in the coming decade, the green economy is going to contribute to 10 to 15% to the GDP of India. And
Absolutely.
we are seeing the shift happening. It's slow, but the shift is happening.
I'll tell you, it's been faster than I expected, to be honest.
How much did you expect?
So just think about the change in the last 5 to 6 years, right?
Hmm.
People are asking those conversations. Is it vegan? Is it cruelty free? Is there an aspect of giving back to the environment? What's the carbon footprint of this product? Um, there are checkout pages I'm seeing now in companies like the disposal company and
Hmm.
clients, which are incentivizing consumers to give that 3 rupees, 4 rupees, 5 rupees at checkout to make the order carbon neutral, to
Hmm.
plant that tree, etc. All of that, and customers are excited about that. customers are engaging. Look, 100% of customers will not, but that number is increasing on a consistent
But we
basis.
have started in the right direction, you would say. So, Arjun, tell me this thing that let's take a situation where there is this one startup or one brand who is selling, say, eco friendly cleaners, for example, and they have got, say, a budget of monthly 10,000. So, if you were in their place, how would you really, spend that kind of money to take the brand to maybe, in the coming years to say 50 crores or 100 crore business? And while I'm asking you this, trust me that there are so many brands there today who are doing amazing work. The product is good, but they're not able to scale.
So why are they not able to scale, right? So that we think about it. I think they're not able to scale for a few reasons. One is because these brands are small, and because the eco-friendly nature of what they're adding to the product or what they're adding to the experience or service makes it more expensive. Look, we are. I mean, I had an amazing conversation with Radhakrishan Damani of DMart, the founder of DMart, about 4 years ago. And I went to show him my products in Dr. Vaidya's. And he looked at the balm and he said, Beta, ye balm kitne ka hai? I said, Sir, 50 gram, 125 rupees. He said, Beta, Iodex move or Moson's ka price kya hai? So I knew the price of one of them, not all three. He said, Yeah, those products are much cheaper than yours and it's a balm. So I said, Okay. He said, You get my point, right? Consumers are price sensitive. And I said, Yes, sir, maybe you're right. Indian consumers are price sensitive. He said, No, Indian consumers are not price sensitive. You live in a country called Bombay, which happens to be very different from India in terms of consumption. You live in the urban part of Bombay or the elite part of Bombay. You consider yourself a consumer equivalent of a London, New York, San Francisco, Hong Kong, Dubai customer, right? In the way you consume and how you spend. Do you go on Make My Trip to buy your flights or do you go to a travel agent? I said, I go to Make My Trip. He said, you use coupon codes on Make My Trip. I said, yeah. He said, do you make 500 rupees off on a flight? You don't, right? Why do you spend time to find the coupon code? Because inherently, if you're getting the same quality product at a lower price, then obviously you'll buy that. Now, if you take this paradigm to what we're talking about as well, I think we need to accept that customers are willing to pay a small delta, right? Not a significant delta for this. And if you're 2x or 3x, you'll hit a very small section of society. That's number one. Number two, you can't be apologetic about your quality because you're eco-friendly, right? You can't say because it's eco-friendly, it's worse than the other product quality, right? Because a customer buy you once, but the second time they'll say it's a headache to use this product, no convenience, quality is not good, so I'm not going to use it, right? So the objective or the endeavor should be get closest to the price. You may have a price delta, but get closest to the price. But the product should work in the same quality and the same way. If it's a bag, it should look similar. If it's a pair of shoes, it should look good enough. If it's a floor cleaner, it should have the same post-use experience, the same usage experience, the same convenience, right? If you don't have that, you're trying to have a totally different conversation. Right? That's not. I don't know if we're ready for that yet.
Actually, one of like, I was talking to one of the scientists. So, like, she studies a lot of behavior for people, like, how are they making decisions. So, she also the same thing that, for climate action to happen, the products and solutions have to penetrate the zones of comfort and convenience. Like, you might be passionate about it, but not everyone is. And we cannot really blame them. But, Arjun, while what you're saying is correct, one thing which I have heard, and you obviously know better, that the prices of these products will only come down when the quantity increases, when the production increases.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
agree.
again a chicken and egg model.
It's a chicken and egg.
So what do we do in such a situation?
Look, it's a tough one, right? But I would say the endeavor should always be to get as close as possible to that price. Maybe it'll take 1 year, 2 years, etc. All of that. But the endeavor can't be, hey, I'm going to be at a higher price forever because I'm living in this paradigm, right? But it is a chicken and egg. Look, if I was producing 1,000 units of a product per day and Dabur was producing 100,000 units of a product per day, obviously they'd have the economies of scale, which I didn't have, right? So I had to find ways to work through it. Maybe I work at a lower gross margin. Maybe I figure out ways and means that they are doing to get this product price down. You'll have to figure out ways to do it. It is a chicken and egg, though I agree with you, and there is no direct correct answer to this. Scale is eventually the answer, and what you do to reach that scale is important.
How would you scale, like if you were in the situation today?
I think the scale is the same paradigm as any other brand, right? Just because you're climate friendly or eco friendly
Hmm.
or sustainable doesn't mean your playbook for scale is different.
Yep.
Has Neiman's used a different playbook for scale or Flathead's used a different playbook for scale than another shoe brand? The answer is probably not, right?
Hmm.
And so the playbook for scale in your industry should be the same. And yes, you have this feature or this mission which
Hmm.
other brands don't have, and you live by it, and customers resonate with that mission.
Hmm.
But the playbook for scale remains the same playbook for scale. It's not like, okay, because I'm in this space, I'll only try to reach those small Facebook groups of
Hmm.
eco-friendly customers. No, you have to get customers who are generally wanting to buy good quality products into
Hmm.
your vision to reach the scale. You can start with the smaller microcosm. They could be your early adopters, but eventual scale has to be achieved at the entire customer base.
And what kind of marketing, say, strategies or should these brands focus on? And how do they say make most of that 1 rupee that they are spending?
Yeah, look, I think it's a good question. I would say that we're moving from the paradigm, and I put a post about it this week on LinkedIn as well. I recorded a podcast with Varun Dugirala on
Yeah.
Advertising
Hmm.
Hotel, and I talked about performance marketing, right?
Hmm.
And we built Dr. Vaidya's on performance marketing. That was the reality. But as the number of brands increases, the supply of brands increases, and the supply of ads remains the same, the cost of ads increases. And the number of brands over the last 2.5 years has increased significantly. But with that increase in the number of brands, there has been an increase in the customer acquisition
Hmm.
cost. And so your brand has to genuinely stand out in the customer's mind for you to want to establish that presence or that ability that when I was building Dr. Vaidya's, there were only so many customers online.
Hmm.
And so there were only so many brands online. So if you came to buy Ayurveda online in 2017 or 2018, you'd only find us, you'd buy from us.
Hmm.
Today, there are 2x, 5x, or 10x the number of customers online
Yep.
in each category, but there are also 4x, 10x, or 20x the number of brands, right? And so your job today is not to convince the customer to buy online, and if they buy online, they buy you. Your job today is amongst the other brands available online,
Hmm.
they choose you,
Hmm.
right? And so that choice means that brand mission, vision, community, thought process, customer stickiness towards the brand, all of those things are very important.
What do you think? Like, we obviously talked about the quality of the product, but what do you think that makes the customer choose that product? Like, how is customer maybe making the decision? Like, have you had that kind of research when you were building Dr. Vedya's?
Yeah, look, I think it's a very generalized question that I won't be able to answer for
Hmm.
all categories. But if I was to look at a paradigm or a general sort of thought
Hmm.
process or give some tips, look, it's very different from personal care, very different from health and
Yep.
wellness, very different for fashion, very different from home. But I would say that the starting process would be build a high quality product which
Hmm.
has a moat or a defensibility. Get that product to customers using the relevant customer
Hmm.
acquisition marketing channels, including Facebook ecosystem of Facebook, Insta, Google ecosystem of Google and YouTube, influencer marketing, brand
Hmm.
marketing, get the product to the customer, and then what's become even more relevant today
Hmm.
is the post-purchase experience. So the
Yes.
order, the delivery, the time of delivery, how many days it takes to reach the
Hmm.
customer, the unboxing experience, the moment of truth when the customer opens your product, their feedback or journey with your product post, and
Hmm.
then eventually the way you re-engage with that customer to either re-buy that product or cross-sell and upsell.
Hmm.
I think that's very, very important, right? So let's say, for example, there's a brand in the food and beverage space, without mentioning the name, um, where I have their product every day,
Okay.
at least 5 times a week. Now, it's just better for me to subscribe to this product, right?
Hmm.
Because it's perishable
Hmm.
product. So I want 5 a week or I want 6 a week. So I go on their website and I subscribe. Now, this brand has offered me the subscription, which makes me really happy. But they charge my card not once a week, once in 10 days. And so every week my subscription comes at a different time.
Hmm.
Now, that's such a bad experience,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not happy, obviously, even though I have the product every day. So I bought their subscription, but I still order from Big Basket or
Hmm.
Instamart sometimes. And I wait for the product to come. I never know when the product is going to come. So that post-purchase experience is not so great for me.
And like before we go further, like I was going to ask you this, that what is moat? I've heard so much about it, like you giving the concept. So like please talk about it.
Yeah, so look, if you go to a fort or a castle
Hmm.
from the old age, and that's how, even though these forts and castles were made in the 1500s, 1600s, and 1800s, they still have relevance, or we can still learn in business today things
Hmm.
about these, right? So they have a water body around the
Hmm.
castle, which is the last line of defense or additional line of defense to that castle. Now, if you think about a product, you have to have a defensibility that allows you to stand up against competition. If you look
Mm.
at Geo, it was price. If you look at
Yes.
Mamaearth, it was cruelty free, made
Mm.
safe. If you look at AirPods, I paid 10x what I would pay for Apple AirPods for both AirDopes,
Mm.
right? But because of the convenience of just taking out the AirPods and putting in my ears. So
Mm.
I left these AirPods somewhere yesterday and I'm so stressed. I called that person whose
Mm.
place I was at yesterday and he said, by the way, it's there with me and you can pick it up anytime. But I paid 10x that price because of the convenience of literally the seamlessness of just
Mm.
putting in my ear and it works, right? For Dr. Vaidya's, we launched a product called Chakash, which is the world's first Chyawanprash and toffee form. The form factor was the moat for
Mm.
that product, right? So I think this moat means defensibility for your product
Mm.
amongst the others.
Correct. And before we actually go further with how to build a team and how to find the right investor, Arjun, in your own journey, did you have moments when you felt like everything is coming down, it's just crashing, and you didn't just know that if it's ever going to work? So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you, how was that?
Look, I'll give you the well, I've given this example too many times, but Dr. Vaidya's failed offline miserably before we pivoted to
Mm.
online. I was a good student in school. I went to a good college. I had a good job out of college. I thought I was running a good business, and then it all came crashing down. But fortunately, I had a good, strong support system. My
Mm.
dad's an entrepreneur as well, and so my family understood, and they supported me through the tough times because you cannot predict the amount of failure you will
Mm.
face as a founder. And people think by reading the news articles and the press articles that this reduces as you scale, as you
Mm.
raise money, as you raise the size of the failure increases,
Yes.
number of failures remain the same. And so for me, the hallmark of a good entrepreneur is someone who fights failure with grit and
Mm.
resilience. That's the hallmark for me of a good founder. And
I
I
believe it.
learned that a little bit. I still don't think I'm great at it, but the best founders can remain calm in the situations of panic, fight the fires, and rise out of them and learn
Mm.
something from it. I would say I'm still a 5 or 6 on 10 there. I need to get better. But I was a zero when I started.
I was a zero, to maybe negative, because for the large part of when we started out, we were talking about a very new narrative, and everyone was supposed talking about fear, and I came in saying that no, I'm not going to paralyze people with fear. I'm going to give them hope. I'm going to tell them how to take the action. So it was every day, it was a journey. And what you mentioned is so super relevant. So Arjun, now you tell me this thing that how do you actually build a team? Like I have heard every entrepreneur who has come on the podcast that build a team, build a team. But then when I communicate this with some brands, so they say that we don't have the funds to build a team and we're not ready to dilute at the moment. So what do you do? Like how do you even start by building a team? Because you need a team.
You need a team, and this is the biggest mistake we made, right, Trisha and I
Hmm.
did, because we were young, we were 25 when we
Hmm.
started. We didn't have a strong team when we started. We thought we could do everything on our own.
Hmm.
See, 2 multiplied by 16, two people working 16 hours a day, and you can't work 16 hours a
No.
day efficiently. You can work at max 14, but most cases 12 hours a day. 2 into 12 or 2 into 14 is 24 or 28. 8 into 10 is 80. The compounding effects of multiple people working together in a team is much more than a few people working a lot of hours, right? How do you build a team? It's tough to invest in an expensive team early on, but you can find cultural fits, right?
Hmm.
People who fit the culture mentality of your
Hmm.
organization. So Dr. Vaidya's wasn't the um, chilled, beanbags in office, Instagram your office and your colleagues, go out every week with your
Hmm.
colleagues type organization. We had 7 philosophies. Hard work is our strength, humbleness our equity, honesty is our practice. We go happy to work and happier to achieve. 100% and nothing less. Team effort is our power and customer our reason for being. It was on every offer letter, I said in every interview, it was on everybody's desk, it was outside my room at the office as well. We were looking for people who fit this culture.
Hmm.
Skills can be taught, but for me, culture can't.
Yeah.
All the skill set hires that didn't fit culture didn't work. All the cultural hires that didn't fit skill set
Hmm.
actually eventually learned the skill set, right? And we have a beautiful story of someone who joined our customer service team after a 4.5 year break from work because she had had kids. And so she had been out of the scene for
Hmm.
4.5 years. When I met her, she said, just give me a chance.
Hmm.
I promise you, um, in 3 months, if you don't like my work, just let me go, but I'll give my 110% and I'll make it happen.
Mm.
She leads customer service at Dr. Vaidya's now 3 years in, right? And she had a break, nobody was going to give her a chance, but we saw that spark in her, we gave her the opportunity, and it was an amazing success.
It's amazing. And you know, like everyone who has built a great organization, a great startup has literally said the same. I remember talking to Angad. He was also saying the same thing, that the culture, the mindset is more important. Skills can be taught. Also, Arjun, tell me this, that how do you find the right investor?
Yeah, look, I'm a BA in economics and politics. I don't have an MBA, and so I think that, look, you're in the digital age.
Hmm.
Information is available. You have access to everybody's email address. The way you reach out to them and the way you find the connection to them, that's your choice.
Hmm.
All of us don't have ready connections, ready
Hmm.
networks, right? I didn't when I started, and it took me 70
Yep.
pitches to find an investor. So that's life. What I accepted. I think like saying, "Hey, I don't have any connections and I can't get anywhere and I don't know how to do it."
Hmm.
That's not the right attitude. Um, when pandemic hit, I uh, demand for essentials, Ayurvedic immunity products increased significantly. I
Yep.
wanted to, and Zomato had started something called Zomato stores. I wanted
Hmm.
to list my product on Zomato stores. So I reached out and found a connect to someone in the Bombay team, and they heard me out. And then this one day later said, "Your product is not relevant." I thought my product was relevant.
Hmm.
I could have accepted no. I wrote an email to Dipinder Goyal. I found his email from somewhere. He replied in 20 minutes. That same person called me the next day and said, "Yeah, you should. We can list your products."
Hmm.
Right. So I mean, you have to find a way to hustle. You
Yes.
find a way to reach the right people. I would give some tips on raising investment. Number one, um, like w- invested investor money is not a commodity, right?
Yes.
And so, when someone invests in your company, they are not in a marriage with you, but
Hmm.
in a long-term relationship at least.
Hmm.
For 5 to 7 years, you have a journey together,
Hmm.
and so you have to be able to want to talk to that person once a month for 5 to 7 years. They have to want to talk to you for once a month, five to
Hmm.
seven years, right? Um, because after a while, the FOMO and all of that goes away. So find people you get along with, also who get along with you and have a similar thought process and similar mentality. That's one. Two, go very well prepared to investor meetings, and also when you've written an email to a list of 100 angel investors or 200 angel investors, there's no context in the email. It's very easy for me to find out. Usually, I don't reply. If you've written an email to me which you've BCC to 100 other angels, I'm not going to reply because what's the
Hmm.
point, right? If you write an email to me saying why you want to reach out to me, what you've
Hmm.
seen I've done, and then why you want to connect with me, even if I'm not going to invest or I can't invest, I'll have the conversation, right?
Hmm.
So do your research and write contextual emails. When you're pitching an investment, make it a dialogue, not a monologue,
Hmm.
right? So I was in a pitch call for 45 minutes. The person spoke for 42 minutes. I had 3 minutes left to say what I had to. How does that make sense,
Yeah.
right?
Agreed.
Because you have to sort of engage in a
Hmm.
dialogue. And then the fourth, leave every investment meeting with a follow up, right? Or a
Hmm.
next step. Hey, okay, is it too early for you? Okay, can I reach out to you after 6 months? Can I put you on an email list at least to share updates of my
Hmm.
company? If it's not the right choice for you, you don't like the company, can you tell me why so I can improve,
Hmm.
right? And if it is the right company and you want to engage further, what can I do? Can I share some more data with you?
Hmm.
Can I reach out to you after 2 weeks and have a conversation again? What's the best way to reach out to you? Should I WhatsApp you? Should I email you? Some investors prefer WhatsApp like me. Some investors prefer email.
Hmm.
How can I block a time in your calendar 2 weeks from now to have a follow up call? Those are the kind of things I would say help.
And are today investors interesting in in say green tech or climate tech or whatever term you call it?
There are funds focused on just this, right? You just have to look for them.
Hmm.
But I know funds focused on this.
And what kind of say entrepreneurs are investors looking for? For example, what kind of entrepreneurs are you looking for? Like what qualities do you see in an entrepreneur?
So, firstly, I'm not an investor who invests only in background,
Hmm.
or like you've come from this college, so I should invest in you because I'm a BA, right?
Hmm.
And I didn't go for an MBA, and I'm never going for an MBA, but I did reasonably okay, right? So I'm looking for people who have three things: they're solving a large problem, they have a reasonable solution for that
Hmm.
problem, or a good solution for that problem, and they have a right to win in that space, and the culture and the mentality to drive through tough times and get there with the
Hmm.
ambition. So that's what I look for. It's pretty theoretical,
Hmm.
but honestly, that's the first
Yep.
mental model that I would use to.
And like, how do you decide that, say, this is the time that I should go out and look for investor?
I always believe when you establish some product market fit,
Hmm.
like you have a product out there, 100,000 customers have tried it, and then you need some more money to scale that, as
Hmm.
opposed to here, I have this idea and I just need money to start the idea. There are some ideas
Hmm.
like deep tech,
Hmm.
B2B SaaS, which need ideas even to get the product
Hmm.
out. But in consumer products, at least get some customers. It's not so difficult.
You are, like, you're right, and like, I think I have a very fun story here. So, like, the large part of what we are building. So, I have always have this notion that, okay, right now I don't need an investor. Maybe 1 year down the line, that is the time we'll go out for looking for investor.
You set the target, right?
What you said is super relevant. I feel that that's the investor and the entrepreneur, the fit has to be the great. And also, like, we talked about how to tell about the product. You tell me that if I have to, say, make a brand that has a revenue of, say, somewhere 50 crores, what are the things that are absolutely essential and I'm not getting there without doing it?
Yeah, so I'll give you 8 steps. They're
Hmm.
very general, but it's very different for each company. You got to start with why you're picking that product or that industry and what the unit economics P&L will
Hmm.
look like. You then move to the product life cycle, finding the problem, thinking about your solution, why they
Hmm.
were right to it, and then making the product. So making the product would entail ideating the product, taking it to focus groups, getting customers to talk about it, think about it, sample it, then designing the product, designing the packaging, and then eventually protecting the product, the IP, and then
Hmm.
putting a sample batch out there and seeing what happens. Build a brand simultaneously that's more than a logo. So vision, mission, statement, qualities, personality, tone of voice, and then eventually the logo and visual
Hmm.
style guide. Find customer acquisition channels, um, your storefront, whether it's offline or online storefront, um, and then um, get the orders in, build the order experience, so dispatch, delivery, warehousing, logistics, customer service. Very important step of retention, bringing the customer back.
Hmm.
Um, you have details where you need to get them to come back for it to be real money on the order. Because the customer acquisition cost on second order or third order is significantly lower than first order. And then eventually, once you finish these steps, you need to think of team, culture, and scale. Those are the 8 steps for me. This is
Yep.
what we teach in our D2C cohort with Growth School as well. It's too generalized, but hopefully, um, like it needs lots of deep dive, right? So we teach this over 8 weeks.
Hmm.
But those are the steps.
And for example, say the like today we have so many existing D2C brands out there. So how do they incorporate sustainability into their business models?
Look, I think some of them use sustainable materials in their products.
Hmm.
Some of them do CSR activities that bring sustainability. Some of them charge customers to make the orders net carbon neutral. I think each brand has its own way of achieving this. But what I am seeing is that almost every brand is now thinking about this
Hmm.
and has some aspect to talk about this, which is a
Hmm.
good sign.
Okay. And my last question to you, Arjun, that I saw that you posted you pictures for your new house. So Arjun, tell me that what did it really take to unlock that door to enter that home with heart so full and smile so wide?
Yeah, look, I think that moment of like walking into that new house, it was one small moment that took like years of effort,
Yes.
right? Blood, sweat, tears, struggling through really tough times, not giving up. That eventually led us to that moment. And when Trisha and I walked in the house, we smiled because we remembered all of those times, right? Today, I'm sitting in that house doing this recording with you in a room that I have as a study, right? We're very fortunate to have this space and this beautiful home that we've got. It's our dream home, but it's also in the same building as our parents. So I still got proximity to family. My aunt has now moved to the building. My cousin also lives here, so we have so much family. My parents, my brother, Bhabi, my grandmother are in the same tower upstairs. So it's a nice outcome for us. It's what we always wanted. But I will say that there is some small aspect of luck, but it's a lot of blood, sweat, tears, sleepless nights, firefighting, rising up from failure. But hey, like I think when I wrote about that, I also said if I could do it, like there's light at the end of the tunnel, everybody can. It's not easy; it takes a lot of work, but
Yes.
let's see. eventually a beautiful outcome for us.
And what's next for you, Arjun?
I don't actually look at what's next, to be honest. Um, so I split my life into 100-day sprints, and that's how I look at it instead of 5 years. If you asked me 5 years ago, would I have built and sold a company and be running a venture capital fund now with Verlinvest? The answer is no way, right? So right now, what's keeping me busy? It's everything I do is to enable the next generation of founders. Whether it's my podcast, whether it's my course I teach through Growth School, whether it's my angel investments, or the fund that I run with For Invest now um, in the venture space, all of it fits to this thesis or purpose of giving back to the next generation of founders, helping them. If we could create one brand and build success, can we enable the next 1,000 brand? That's what Trisha and I want to do, and that's what we spend our time doing. So that's what's next for me. But I'm not one of those guys who says 5 years from now I'll be here, because 5 years ago I would have never thought I'd be here. Right?
It makes so much sense. And like, thank you for helping people achieve their version of success. So, like, when you posted that image, Arjun, it gives hopes to many people like me that it can happen. And I
Absolutely.
remember that we were having a very tough day during that while working. And that just one pose that you did, like, it added light to our day on
Yeah,
that day.
that's why I write. That's why I write. It takes time, right, to write and share
Yep.
thoughts and all of that. But I get so many messages from people saying, "Hey, like I need to hear that," and
Yes.
that's got me motivated on a Monday to get back. I've had tough times, and so that's why I write, because not so many people share real experiences and
Yes.
real journeys, and if I can inspire 5 people, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, um, every day, week, month, then I'm doing something.
Thank you, Arjun. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for taking out the time to do this. Like, I genuinely am grateful.
My pleasure, Shweta. All
Thank
the best, and I'm
you.
excited to see this